Welcome to Nerd Squish Presents, where today we're going to talk about the legacy of Morgus the Magnificent. Need a little something spooky to drink on this fine afternoon as I film. Oh yeah, nice and green. Oh, hi there, friends of science, those of the higher order. Picture this, it's Saturday night back in the days of local programming TV. You're flipping through the channels trying to find something to entertain you when you stumble upon a B movie. And just as you're getting into the story, it cuts to this zany character giving commentary about said movie. And at first you're kind of like, oh man, hey look, I was into that radioactive spider just now. But also you're not really that mad because this kind of insane character is getting into his own zany antics that horrify and thrill. Almost every state has had their own horror host, and heck, some have had several. Now, some of them have reached worldwide fame, such as the first, Vampira, and probably the most popular, Elvira. But unfortunately, most of them haven't gone much further than their own little local world in regards to fame. However, the residents in their areas keep them alive with fond memories and fun merch. And I'm here to talk about one of those today, none other than Morgus the Magnificent. Now, if you're not a member of the higher order, or someone that grew up in New Orleans, you're probably like, huh? And even if you did grow up in New Orleans, but you're a millennial or maybe younger, you're probably still thinking, who? So today I want to dive into the legacy of the iconic New Orleans horror movie host, Morgus the Magnificent. Now before we get into the details, if you're a returning viewer, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. And if you're new here, this is Nerd Squish, where we take everything spooky and we take everything nerdy and we squish it all together. So if you like horror movies, Halloween, and pop culture, definitely hit that subscribe button so you can see more videos from us in the future.
And now, stay tuned. The Master will return in one brief moment.
In 1958, WWL-TV in New Orleans was looking for a host for their new show, The House of Shock. Sid Noel, a New Orleans native and an employee at WWL, was awarded the role, but only if they could agree upon two conditions. Number one being that he could remain anonymous, and number two, that he could make it funny. With those two conditions agreed upon, Morgus first appeared January 3rd, 1959 as a mad scientist that hosted horror movies and science fiction movies, all while doing experiments that often went awry at the last moment. His full name is Momus Alexander Morgus. Momus coming from the god of ridicule, Alexander for the biggest egomaniac in history, and Morgus being a combination of morgue and disgusting. He had wild hair inspired by Einstein, big old teeth, and a dirty lab coat, which obviously I'm trying to pull off, but my coat is just too white, but hey, it's what I had in the closet. He was said to be a descendant of a long line of scientists dating back to Morgus I, who was the architect of the first pyramid in Egypt. He has an IQ in the 300s, and he's Earth's main member of the higher order, which that's why I keep doing this. For everybody that's like, what the heck is going on? Is it the Illuminati? No, it's the higher order, which is a secret scientific society that's dedicated to helping the development of intelligence throughout the universe. The character of Morgus has a huge ego and a very satirical look at the world of science and the shortcomings of academia. So he's just another in a long line of scientists that are seeking the recognition from the universities that ostracized him. The great thing about Morgus is although he is determined to prove all of those people that doubted him wrong, he actually genuinely wants the betterment of mankind. So he's not an evil scientist, he's just a little kooky. After all, he created this machine that would collect mosquitoes that have, gotten blood from people in the city, and they would go into this machine and he would squish them. He would extract the blood and feed it to the vampires roaming the city. Sure, there were more mosquitoes in the city than usual, but hey, at least the vampires weren't running around the French Quarter trying to pop your jugular like a juice box. And I have to point out, in this same episode where he created this mosquito machine invention, he actually created a list of 5 symptoms of vampires to look out for during the vampire epidemic.
One is a strong desire or enjoyment in drinking any red liquid.
And then he proceeds to list strawberry daiquiris and Bloody Marys, which are some of my favorite drinks. But, don't listen to him. I'm definitely not a vampire. Morgus has 2 assistants in the lab, the first being Chopsley, which is a 6'7" executioner who always gets the blame for failed experiments, even though it's usually Morgus's fault. And despite always being called an idiot by Morgus, Chopsley remains loyal and is often the guinea pig for many of his experiments.
What is it, Chopsley? Oh, no, you can't donate your brain, Chopsley. Oh, no. See, Chopsley loves his country. He would give his head right now for this country. Chopsley, your brain is too valuable, you understand? Of course. Actually, clinically, it's more valuable than mine. It's never been used.
The second being Eric, who is a talking human skull, who in later episodes is connected to a computer that holds all the knowledge in the universe.
Well, keep in mind, my dear friends, the greatest figures in all of history came from very humble surroundings. Isn't that right, Eric?
Yes, Master.
Of course, my computer, Eric here, plays a very vital role in all of our research. As you may know, Eric stands for Eon Research Infinity Computer.
Eric opened and closed every single episode and received much better treatment than Chopsley. Poor Chopsley. No respect. No respect at all. Morgus and the House of Shock was an instant hit in New Orleans. So much so that they claimed that the crime rate dropped in the city while he was on air, which, you know what? Being New Orleans, that's a feat. Now, I know when he premiered in 1959, it looks much different than it does in 2024. But it's the French Quarter, so that is a strong statement. The show was such a phenomenon that Morgus and Chopsley would make frequent appearances at the New Orleans amusement park, Pontchartrain Beach. For one episode, they were showing the snow creature, and the station advertised that they were going to have the creature from the movie on the roof at midnight. And let's just say that the NOPD was not prepared for the Mardi Gras level crowds, as people just stormed the streets of the French Quarter to watch Morgus and Chopsley fight a dummy dressed as an abominable snowman. Like most horror movie hosted shows, the films they showed were not great. But you tuned in every week to see what new invention they had and what antics Morgus and Chopsley were going to get into. Not only was he on television, but he had his very own movie, The Wacky World of Dr. Morgus. In the film released in 1962, he created a machine that would turn people into sand and then restore them back to life. Bruno from the imaginary foreign country Microvania wanted this machine so he could use it to spy on the United States. Bruno employs a spy named Mona so she can get Morgus to bring the device to Microvania. And once the machine gets there, he put 300 spies into the device. Now, of course, the plan never works because the 300 Microvanian spies, they just end up in cement that turns into cement to finish off a bridge that they were working on. Now, this is by no means a Hollywood-level film, but the movie remains a cult classic in the city of New Orleans. Morgan even had his own song with the lyrics, "We don't go out to roll and rock, we get our kicks from the House of Shock." I mean, it probably sounds better than that, obviously, because, can I sing or what? Definitely falls in that or what category. The name of the band was Morgus and the Ghouls and was performed by Frankie Ford, and it features a guitar solo by none other than Mac Rebennack, who you may know as Dr. John. And for all of you non-New Orleanians, that is the artist that performs the opening song in The Princess and the Frog. You want to do some living before you die? Do it down in New Orleans. In 1963, Sid moved to Detroit and he brought the character of Morgus with him. While Morgus may not be known all over the world like Elvira, his popularity spread throughout Atlanta, Milwaukee, and Cleveland. However, Sid and his character Morgus did indeed return to the Crescent City in 1965, I have to assume because he missed po' boys, because that's where I'm at right now. Like, going on 2 years in Texas. I want a po' boy. Morgus Presents was on and off the air for years, and it had its last revival in 1987 with 52 brand spanking new episodes. Now, having a show run that long, he is a character that is near and dear to the hearts of New Orleanians. So much so that after Hurricane Katrina, Cox Communications wanted to bring back Morgus to comfort residents of New Orleans and let them know that everything was going to be okay. So with that, they put up a billboard with a picture of Morgus and the phrase, "Make New Orleans magnificent again," as well as showing reruns of Morgus Presents. Morgus has an influence on the city that some people would not even recognize. One of the most popular haunted attractions in the city, the House of Shock, is a reference to the show. This particular haunted house ain't there no more, as it was permanently shut down in 2017 and replaced with New Orleans Nightmare. And although it's not there anymore, if you are a Halloween fanatic, I guarantee you that you've heard of this attraction. You see, this haunted house, founded by Pantera's frontman Phil Anselmo, was featured in the best Halloween special ever created, the 2007 Travel Channel's Halloween's Most Extreme. Please tell me someone else remembers that special, because back in the day, Travel Channel's Halloween programming was the best, and that special, the cherry on top, and I used to watch it obsessively, even though, like, at a certain point, I'd watched it so many times. I knew what houses were in what order, and I knew House of Shock was going to be #1, but it was just so exciting to watch every year. I don't know. So there you have it. It doesn't matter if you were a child growing up in the 60s or you're a fan of the NOLA sludge metal scene. Everyone loves Morgus. Your boy even made it on MTV when they were showing Mardi Gras and they had one of their VJs out on a balcony in the French Quarter, and here was Morgus and just the fans just cheering for him, and it was just so iconic that they actually took the sound clip of the Mardi Gras crowds cheering Morgus, Morgus, and they put it into the show and used it for different skits and bits that they had throughout the antics. The Crescent City is no stranger to the macabre, and it loves to celebrate its spooky side. But I think the biggest reason that we love Morgus is he's relatable. He was a goofy, yet lovable character. He wanted nothing more than to do good for the world, but he would always mess up. Yet he never gave up. If that don't sum up New Orleans, I don't know what does. Over the years, Morgus attempted all kinds of experiments. Everything from siphoning musical talent from Pete Fountain to rehabilitating vampires using the scientific method. And most of them went horribly awry, but there was one experiment that he did that was wildly successful. And that was becoming a true New Orleans icon. And so I have to know, are there any New Orleans friends of science watching this video right now? Do you know who Morgus is? And if not, no matter where you're from, who is your favorite horror movie host? Let me know in the comments. Because here's the thing, I love Elvira, but I have to say that Morgus is my favorite. I mean, he's spooky New Orleans, which is most definitely my brand. I have a few Morgus pieces in my house, and I always love the opportunity to give a little lesson on him when people inevitably come over and they're like, who the heck is that guy? The biggest piece that I have is the movie poster that I have hanging up in my living room. My favorite piece is probably this sketch of Morgus by Butch Von Dreaux, who is one of my favorite artists. Definitely check him out. I will put a link to his socials and everything so you can check out more art from him. And the newest piece in my collection is this amazing door hanger from 504 Funk that my friends gave me for Christmas because, as they said, I'm the only person that knows who this is. Shout out to Tristan and Emily if you're watching this. And as spooky season approaches, it is almost time to hang his handsome little face on my front door. In fact, he kind of makes me want to go with this whole mad scientist theme with my outdoor Halloween decor. You know, I want to get some like mason jars and specimen jars and vials and put them by my front door with glowing green goo and bats, and just, I want to go wild with it. I also want to build my very own Eric, so don't entirely know how I'm gonna do that yet, but I'll figure it out. If you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so when new videos hit the channel, you'll be notified. Therefore, you will never miss my fingers of fury that are just always doing all this. It's the finger guns. Always and forever. And as always, thank y'all for watching. Tune in next time.
Good night. Pleasant dreams.